How much money can you make from flipping raw land? Yeah, I'm talking about flipping raw dirt. How much cheddar can we make from this game? If you guys are new here, my name is Sumner Healey. I run a company called landinvestor.co. We help folks scale 6- and 7-figure land investing businesses. I myself run a 7-figure land investing business, and I've been flipping land for quite some time now. So I can obviously speak to this from my anecdotal experience, but more importantly, I have a pretty hefty data set in terms of looking at students that have gone through our land investing accelerator program and seeing what the results have been. And I think really what we want to answer here with the question you're probably wondering is really, what can I make in the next 12 months, right? A lot of people, unfortunately, are pretty short-term focused, and I don't blame you. I was honestly the same way when I first got started. As I've gotten deeper into this game, I'm thinking more in decades, less in years. But there's an importance to answering the question of how much money can I make in the next 12 months if I start land investing now? So we're gonna answer that. I'm also gonna touch on what I think the actual kind of ceiling is for this business, if there even is one. So stick around, watch the whole video. There's lots of goodies in here. Okay, so let me set the stage here. Most people that go through our land investing accelerator program, they're typically starting part-time in the business. A lot of these have been people that have full-time W-2 jobs. They might have a business that they're also running in conjunction with getting started up in land investing, or you've also had a handful of college students go through the program as well. So most of the folks that have been going through the program are working anywhere on the low end between 10 hours a week to 20, maybe 25 hours a week when they're first scaling up their business. We had one student who joined and immediately jumped in full time. He did $430,000 in revenue in his first year, but he was going at it 40, 50 hours a week. So his results are a bit more uncommon. So for the folks that are working part-time, what we see to be pretty typical is they'll do anywhere between 12 and 30 deals in their first year. Really depends on what their business model is in terms of what kind of deals they're going after. Some folks want to go smaller deals when they're first getting started, maybe build up a little bit of an owner finance portfolio. And some folks just get started and say, you know what, I want to go after the big stuff. So what we've seen is anywhere between $75,000 to $125,000 in the first year is pretty darn typical in terms of net profit. So that's net profit to the owner of the land investing business. We're not talking top line revenue, we're not talking gross margin, we're talking net after operating expenses, after marketing costs, after property costs, like everything put together is somewhere in that $75,000 to $125,000 range. And that's roughly what I made when I first started out as well. One of the interesting things is I did a little over 60 deals my first year. And so I did a high number of deals, but my market selection was horrible. My deal selection was horrible. I mean, I was buying deals that would literally net me $500 a deal. In a lot of cases, it's because I was buying properties that were landlocked on the side of the cliffs. I mean, like, I did everything wrong in the textbook. But I did a high number of deals, and so all blended together, I was right around $75,000 net profit my first year as well. We've got a student that went through the program. His name is Ryland. You might have seen his testimonial somewhere on the YouTube channel, but he did about 12 deals his first year, $75,000 in profit. The interesting thing is, most of that came within like a 4-month window. So he graduated college in May, and from May until the time of this recording is October 17th. From May to October, that's when the vast majority of all of that revenue came in, because he went from working 5 to 10 hours a week to like 20, 25 hours a week. And so I think there's definitely a world where you can do more than this. You can compress it down and have that happen in 6 months, or do way more than that in 12 months. But I think it's a pretty healthy expectation to set when you're first starting out. One of the beautiful things about our land investing accelerator program is we've solved the deal funding issue for a lot of folks. So when you go through the program, you get access to the same deal funding partners that we use within our business. That way, if you are out there and you're sourcing quality off-market deals, you don't have to worry about getting those deals funded. We've got that all covered for you. And truthfully, that's one of the biggest bottlenecks that I see when folks are just getting started. It was the biggest bottleneck for me. If you are able to remove that as a burden from your plate, it's much easier to scale up, because you can spend more on marketing, and you can also go after bigger deals that you might not otherwise be able to afford. So that's the expectation in the first 12 months. Let's talk about where could you take this business? And this is something that I honestly ponder day in and day out. I'm like, how far could I grow this business? How far can I take this business? Now, I think if you're just going with the kind of classic arbitrage model, which is really what we're doing, right? We're buying property at one price from one group of people, finding another group of people, selling it a little bit higher, and kind of connecting those two marketplaces together. We're just arbitraging it. We're not really adding a ton of value outside of our marketing. I think a business like this can realistically do anywhere between $5 million to maybe $10 million at most in gross margin. And gross margin would be property expenses, so what it actually costs to buy the property and close the property, minus what you sold it for and then title fees on the back end. I think that's a real possibility. And now we're talking about the combination of cash collected from cash sales and any recurring revenue that you have from owner financing coming in on a monthly and annual basis. We're not talking about the total value of your owner finance sales. I think you could add $5 million or $10 million of total value from owner finance sales, but obviously you're going to be collecting that over a year. So really what we're talking about is how much cash could you collect in terms of gross margin in this business. I truthfully think that's pretty darn close to the ceiling, but I could be wrong. Now I think there is a world where you could grow this business way beyond that $10 million a year mark. But at that point, I firmly believe that you need to be going in and doing deals that are bigger so you can deploy more capital at once, and then you need to be adding value. Realistically, it's going to be through subdivisions and then stacking value on top of those subdivisions via utilities, roads, things along those lines. Like you could just go and do a platted subdivision, but I think to really scale this up, you need to be going in a little bit deeper and potentially doing some rezoning. And these could be big rural recreational subdivisions. They could be infill lots. There's a lot of different subdivision styles out there. But in this world, I think this is probably how you could scale the land investing business to its absolute peak. I have yet to go down that rabbit hole. We are looking at one subdivision project within our business currently. But for me, I feel like I have not kind of fulfilled my destiny, if you will, in the world of just flipping raw land as is. I want to take this business to its absolute height before I stack another strategy on top of it. So just know that if you are able to build a skill set of valuing land, finding good markets, buying land off market, negotiating great deals, you could scale that up as a business of just arbitraging land quite high. But if you can also take that skill set and apply it to building out subdivisions or adding value, I think you could build this into a very, very substantial business that could potentially make you hundreds of millions of dollars over your lifetime. And I like to think about this question because so many folks are getting started in this game. They come to the table with a very small, limited mindset. It's typically, hey, I'm trying to make, 200 grand a year. I'm trying to make, 500 grand a year, which is great. And not everyone wants to kind of push the boulder up the hill and really grind things out. But for those that do want that, there's a world where this is possible. And that's really the path that I'm on. It's not because I'm obsessed with money or anything along those lines. It's that I'm obsessed with building businesses and I'm obsessed with who you have to become in the process. And so I like the fact that this is a business that I really feel like I could be working on for the next few decades and grow it into something very, very substantial. So this was a different style video than what we normally produce. This is a little more off the cuff, and this is just really something that's been on my mind lately. I hope it was valuable to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Maybe think about subscribing or don't, it's okay too. Anyways guys, we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.